and welcome to Sportswomen Connect. My name is Regina, your host. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about athlete health and development. And to join me in this conversation is someone who has traveled so many miles to be in Uganda. At this particular moment, I'd like to invite Kelly to tell us more about herself. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Regina.
Kindly just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
I'm from Australia. That's where I've gone through my university studies. So first a bachelor degree and then following on with a Doctor of Philosophy degree, all in the area of exercise science. And upon graduation, that's where I started my career in applied sports science. So my first job was in the Queensland Academy of Sport. So at that point, I was working with elite athletes.
Yep.
And my career progressed. I was there for a couple of years working with Olympic programs, mainly in the sport of swimming. And after the London Games, so I did the Beijing Olympic cycle, the London Olympic cycle, and at that point I moved to Europe. So I was working in Switzerland there, again with the swimming team as a practitioner, but also in leadership roles. So I was tasked with setting up a satellite performance centre. So I was there in that role for 3.5 years, and then at that point it was about a decade into my performance science career. So it was a little bit of a transition point, and I just started to look at what I wanted to do further in my career, and took a little bit of a different path there. Wanted to have a little bit of a different impact with the skill set I have. So at that point I started working with a Swiss health tech startup, which was really interesting, a little bit diverse, but still applied in the exercise science area. A leadership role there. And then after that, so I was with them for a year, then I started my own consulting business where I'm working with athletes, a lot of female athletes actually. And that's also when I started working with Harper Performance.
Okay. And what do you do with the Harper High Performance?
So Harper Performance, I'm the head of performance support for the company. So we're a social enterprise, and basically we're providing the performance science support to the athletes and organisations in the global south that don't have access to these type of opportunities, resources, expertise that is sort of taken for granted in the Western world. And so what we're doing is coming in and working with local partners in terms of providing performance support systems. So we come in and provide the foundations there in a co-developed way with our local partners, and then a capacity building role. So through the projects that we do, we're also at the same time upskilling the local staff that we're working with on the ground here in Uganda. And also through an internship program, the East African Sports Science Internship, which we've just recently set up this year, and we have our first intern in. So so it's been a really big year for us, but essentially in that role of head of performance support, it's more coordinating the projects on the ground.
Wow, sounds interesting.
It is, it's fascinating.
Which organisation are you working with in Uganda?
At the moment, our project is with the Football for Good Academy, which is located in Bunga in Kampala. Okay.
Do you hope to transfer that to rugby as well? Because I'm very passionate about rugby.
Look, if there's opportunities, so.
Okay, so just so quickly into our topic for today, which is athlete health and performance. In your experience, how does athlete health affect performance, both at the grassroots and at the elite level?
Yeah, I think both ends of the spectrum are really, really important. I think, for example, if we start with the athlete development in the younger ages, now having experience here in East Africa and also in the Western world, there are some differences here in that approach. So I think there are some differences, but then there's fundamentals that should be the same to set up the foundations. I look at it as like a pyramid, and the development years being the foundations that you then build on to get to the elite level at the top. So if we're looking at the foundations, that shouldn't really differ no matter where you are in the world. So things like making sure that we're providing the right nutrition that's going to help the athletes develop, grow, stay healthy, immunity. looking at things like proper athletic development.
Yeah.
So making sure that we're getting correct movement patterns and technique early on that can then build to something more substantial later.
Yeah.
Areas of keeping them healthy, so from like a physical perspective as well. So I would say that those two are the same from what I've seen.
Yeah.
And also we're working with a youth academy here, so they've been sort of the foundational areas that we're looking at.
Okay.
And then when it comes to the elite level, I think those principles still apply, but they're broken down and applied a little bit differently, I think, because of the demands that are then placed on elite athletes. But still most important, so the athletes that I've worked with in my own consulting business who are adults, and then also at the sports institutes, being, you know, late teens to early adults as well, I think they become more important because the stressors are greater.
Yeah.
And I've worked in multidisciplinary teams and with all of the different expertise providing, you know, the best care to the athletes. For me, it's not all about the performance and driving the athlete as hard as you can, because that's only going to last for a very short period of time.
Okay.
But I think, again, covering off these foundational areas, making sure they're still there, keeping the athletes healthy and immunity, making sure they're physically healthy and strong. You know, mental health is a big one these days.
Yeah, the issue of mental health, how important is that for any athlete? Because I've experienced players go off the radar just because either the management is not addressing the mental well-being of the athlete.
Yes, and I would agree. I've experienced a similar thing working in elite sport in the past. And I think from the outset, the environment that's created around an athlete plays a big role in that, certainly in the experience that I was in. So the culture that is created within a team, within a national team, that, you know, that culture really has an impact on that athlete, and then the athlete being able to handle that pressure. You know, I think it's something that we really have to be perhaps more aware of, that it's not only the one person, it's the environment that one person is existing in.
Okay. I just, in the recent past, I've had incidences whereby young players, young girls, are fast-tracked into national teams real quick, and before you know it, they've lost interest. And I'm talking from Ugandan experience. Is that something, so in terms of, if we're looking at strategies, what would you recommend to promote performance, longevity for players, but also ensure that we breed success in the long term?
For me, I think it's making sure that the environment that's created around young girls is sustainable as well. So I know even in the West there are some difficulties at that point. There's social, you know, pressures. Sometimes there's social barriers to participating in sport. You know, sometimes it's, you know, not the cool thing to do for girls to be from their own peer-to-peer support. I think when it comes to young females, maybe in their 20s, and they're getting older, what I've seen, particularly with women at that age, is that we have to balance out, again, it comes to the environment, but again, it's making sure that we're setting up that home life for them, that whether it's a family or a husband or they're still living at home, they need the support, and it's no good, you know, throwing all of the performance aspects at them if the life that they're living is not actually conducive to allow them to train and to compete. So that's certainly something that I work a lot with the women that I work with and in my consultancy, and it's really making sure that the barriers are cleared away and they're in an environment that supports them to participate. And so I think maybe that's something we need to look at, specific strategies for each situation, that, you know, the road is cleared for them essentially to be able to come in and do the training and performance that they're there to do.
How can we as leaders, coaches and administrators ensure that athlete health is not compromised as we pursue performance and excellence?
Again, if I look back at the work we're doing here, we've taken a focus because we've got, I guess, development age athletes in the academy, is again making sure that the right support is actually around the athletes. So that's, I think we have to be strategic about it as well, to know what is going to be the most beneficial, the most important, and the most applicable to the athletes in that stage. So the expertise around covering off the basics of proper nutrition for the athletes, providing the correct medical care, and that's from a health perspective, but that's also from an injury prevention and monitoring, treatment as well, making sure that's covered off, making sure that the actual athletic development progression is applicable to the age that they're in, because there's certain technical elements or physical elements, conditioning elements that are applicable at different ages of that development cycle. So there's that. There's also looking at physiological development of athletes as well. So putting all of that together, and I think that has to be a concerted effort. That has to be planned and strategic. It can't be an ad hoc approach. And I think having that comprehensive base, definitely to start from, but then to progress. And I think, yes, that's obviously the role of the coaches, the leaders, the managers that are around the team.
Okay. And in your opinion, what can sports organizations do to create environments that promote sustainability in athlete health for both personal well-being, but also performance excellence, success for the sport?
I think if I look back at all of the Olympians, the great athletes, the professionals I've worked with, they all have an element of joy in what they're doing. They love what they're doing. They're passionate about it. It's not a job for them. And creating that environment, that has to again come from creating an environment for them in the daily training that they can thrive. Not only survive and get through, because I think that's when we sort of are on track to the path of burnout or early dropout from the sport. And so from those environments, the critical elements was a great relationship with their coach. They had ownership and buy-in over the training that they were doing. They had input into that. There was a great group around them that they really enjoyed training with. There was a really good culture amongst the staff that was with the team. I personally loved working with them because of that feeling that was there, and some of my greatest memories are from that. And to this day, I'm still in contact with some of these athletes on a more personal level, I guess, as the people that they've become, either in the later stages of their sport or outside, now that they're retired. So I would say some really key elements there, but coming down to it is the culture, I think, and everything breeding and stemming from that. And I know that's difficult, and again, I think in recent times it's something that's come under the spotlight a bit more. And some environments, some coaching groups just really, really work from that. And I don't think it's a really easy thing to do. But I think it's definitely
something necessary. That should be done. Okay. And just from your experience with elite athletes at the top in top sport in Europe, for example, and your experience here in Uganda, what do you think are the barriers and challenges?
The barriers and challenges for the athletes in Uganda? Well, if we look at it from a really basic perspective, I think it's an accessibility issue. So in the West, we take it for granted that we want to be an elite athlete. We can do that. It's a legitimate pathway. We have a pathway. We have support along that pathway. And we have a culture and environment that supports that. And so as long as you can get yourself on that pathway, then it's easy. You could potentially be on the track. And you are on the track in a way. I think the difference here is that that opportunity isn't here. There's certainly practitioner talent, graduates. I mean, we've seen that with our internship that we've just set up. Fantastic people. We've got an excellent intern at the moment who's delivering our project, you know, with us. So there's definitely like expertise here to be cultivated. There is definitely athletic talent, but I think, you know, what's needed is the basics to provide those opportunities and pathways there. So for me, that's the biggest barrier, and it's an accessibility. And if we can provide that access, provide the foundations, then we're giving the same opportunity to athletes with talent, no matter where you are in the world.
Awesome. So just coming from that, what would be your one wish for every girl watching you right now, or young lady watching you right now?
My one wish would be that they have the support around them, that they can pursue anything they want to pursue in the world, because I think it's absolutely possible. I know some incredible women in business, in sport, in leadership. I aspire to be one as well. And yeah, I think having the self-belief and I hope that they find the people, and they're able to find the people that will help them and support them on that pathway. That's my wish.
Fantastic, inspirational words. Before we go, just leave us with a few words of inspiration before we say goodbye.
For me, I think if I think personally, set a dream.
Correct.
And pursue that dream with everything you have. It's not always going to be easy. It likely won't be, that's a guarantee. But if it's worth it, then I think you find the drive and the passion and the way to do it. So, and it's believing in yourself that you can do it as well. So that's what I would say. Dream, achieve dreams, set new dreams, and keep giving it everything you have.
Thank you, Kelly, for that inspirational talk. For me, the key learnings are that a great relationship with the coach and creating a sustainable supportive system are some of the key elements to ensure that athletes do not only survive but thrive. And to all our dear viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, goodbye.